this morning here in Gulfport with wind gusts now pushing 60 miles an hour. And it's getting ready to make landfall. With Mike Bettis, New Orleans, Jim Cantori, and Homa coming up on your weather today.
Our continuing coverage of Hurricane Gustav's landfall, which is imminent. It is very close to the coast. It looks like it may be coming upon the coast just south of Houma, Louisiana.
Yeah, and what a morning it is for these folks along the coastline in Louisiana and Mississippi. In fact, we were just watching Mike Siedel in Gulfport, Mississippi, and he is just getting spanked by those winds right now. Mike, give us the latest.
Hey, Heather, we are in Gulfport this morning, as we have been all morning, and boy, these winds are really cranking up. These bands in. Here now is certainly the potential for some wind damage, power outages, severe weather. We've had a lot of tornado warnings this morning, especially over in Mobile County, in Alabama, Escambia, Santa Rosa, the western Florida panhandle. And here we had a water spout earlier that knocked out power briefly, but the power came back on. Hard to tell. The power's on here.
A tornado warning has been issued for your area.
Winds are sustained at about 40 miles an hour, but look at the highway. It's now being breached by the Gulf of Mexico over by the casino. We haven't seen that all morning. We're thinking the surge now is about 4, maybe 5 feet. We're not concerned about the water getting over here, but boy, that's why they've shut down Highway 90 across the state of Mississippi. And keep in mind, during Katrina, it was under 20, 25 or more feet of water, and a lot of it just was ripped up by the surge from Katrina 3 years ago. Here, we have not seen any significant damage from my vantage point. Again, I'm looking at some of the homes in the distance. I don't see any shingles off, but no doubt when we get these wind gusts up over 60 miles an hour, we're going to have some issues. Surge. Rest of the afternoon, we don't think it's going to get any. Concern is, if you look at Titan radar, not only the bands that are impacting those of you to our east, over around Mobile and Pensacola, we've had all those warnings, but over here, we've got those bands and those bright colors to our south that still have to rotate in here. So we're still going to have a lot of wind to deal with, and maybe, a little bit of an increased tornado threat. That tornado watch out until 4 this afternoon. So this is what we're going to get throughout the afternoon. We may have some occasional lulls, but the next 4 or 5 hours, just a matter of trying to hang on and stand your ground out here in this kind of wind. The reason it's so windy here and not as windy at some of the other locations is we're right on the Gulf and we're completely exposed. Mike Bettis, give us the update from the Windy City. I mean, not the Windy City, from New Orleans. I'm in the Windy City.
Yeah, you are right now, Mike. Hold tight there, buddy. Hey, we've actually had a bit of a break here in the past hour and a half, but still concerned about what the surge concerns may be here. Some of our southern parishes and along Lake Pontchartrain as well. Want to get an update right now with the Army Corps of Engineers, and joining us live on the phone is Major Tim Kurgan with the Army Corps of Engineers. Major, thank you for being with us. Can you give us an update around the Industrial Canal? We're getting reports there with that strong wind from the east that at times that flood wall is being overtopped. Can you give us an update?
Yeah. Currently, our gauge reading in the Industrial Canal is about 11 feet. Again, those walls are anywhere from 12 to, on the newer walls, 15 feet. So when you're getting that close to the top of the wall, we do have waves overtopping those walls. So you don't have a constant flow, but right now we do have wave run up and splash over on those walls.
What is a normal water level at that canal?
Within that canal, the normal water levels are typically 10 feet below what they're at right now.
Do you anticipate that water coming up any higher? Are you waiting for that wind to shift? What do you see happening here in the next couple of hours?
Well, obviously we're watching that very closely.
A tornado warning has been issued for your area.
About the surge coming through there. I will tell you there has been some a great deal of reinforcements done throughout the Industrial Canal post-Katrina. One of the large lessons learned was to provide scour protection on the protected side of those flood walls. So as those waves or that water splashes over the wall, we now have a concrete pad on the back side of that wall. So if that water hits the ground, it doesn't scour the soil away from behind that wall and weaken it, which makes those walls, a great deal more resilient. So, you know, we trust those walls to the top. As you can see, they're holding. We do have the scour protection on the backside, and we're watching it closely right now.
If that wind then begins to shift maybe a little bit more out of the north and bring some of that surge farther south, is that a concern for you if water then begins to build on the south side of Pontchartrain?
Well, certainly we're watching Lake Pontchartrain there. As if that wind starts pushing the water to the south, part of that will push some of that water out of the industrial canal back into the Gulf. But then what we're looking at is the water along the lakefront at our outfall structures, London, Orleans, and the 17th. Right now, the gauge reading at Orleans Canal is 1.74 feet. So we've actually seen a drop in the gauge reading this morning at London Canal. It was 2.44 earlier this morning, and I just refreshed my screen, and now it's down to 1.32. Or 1.95, pardon me. So, again, we're still below what we were at this morning, but, again, we expect that to rise. These levels have been fluctuating all day long.
Major, I know you're keeping a close tab on all the canals. Any ones that you're particularly concerned about? You know, one we were hearing from Mayor Nagin yesterday that he was worried about was that Harvey Canal. Can you give us an update on that?
Well, certainly, and Mayor Nagin is right. That's the first canal that we have to close. 4 o'clock this morning, we closed that canal. When the water level the Harvey Canal's on the west bank, when the water level in that canal reaches 1.5 feet and rising, we close that sector gate. Now, that gate takes us 10 minutes to close. It's all automated. We close that at 4 a.m. this morning, and it is still closed. And actually, after we closed it, we saw a drop at the Harvey Canal. So the Harvey Canal right now is less than 1 foot. So